preparing for a press conference right there in North Charleston, where they are going to give us an update on how they're preparing right here in the Lowcountry for Hurricane Florence. Listen.
From Charleston County, as well as a few mayors that we have here from within the region as well. Today at 8 a.m., the Charleston County Emergency Operations Center moved to operating condition 3 with a partial activation of the EOC. We activated the Citizens Information Line today at noon. That phone number is 843-746-3900. That number will be staffed until 8 p.m. this evening and will resume operations tomorrow at 8 a.m. throughout the duration of the incident for 24 hours. In the event that we have to shelter residents within Charleston County, the transportation pickup point plan that we've historically used will still be in effect. However, residents reporting to those locations, getting on one of the local buses, will be moved to locations in Dorchester, Berkeley, or possibly Orangeburg counties to seek shelter. We ask that you continue to monitor local media and to pay attention to the advisories that they issue, as we're still keeping a very close eye on this storm. Things are very fluid at this time, so we need to prepare now in order to react should we be threatened by the landfall of Hurricane Florence. At this time, I would like to turn the conference over to our chairman of County Council, Mr. Vic Rawl.
Thank you, Jason. Short and sweet, Charleston County's council met in emergency session at 2:30, and we passed an ordinance which basically implements our emergency practices and procedures, which authorizes staff under that ordinance to spend monies within the parameters as needed, also authorizes them to make the decisions in the event that county cannot, or at least Charleston County council members cannot get back together to make a decision again. So we have put that into play. What that does basically is allow our staff to operate in conjunction with the governor's mandates, requests, etc., so that we can function. Most questions will be covered one-on-one. There is no evacuation order given yet. The reasoning, I think, that needs to be stated at some point in time, our evacuation centers have had a recent engineering study indicating that the maximum sustained winds they should be utilized in is 130 miles an hour. We always take worst case scenario, so that in the event that it's bigger than that, we would have to go to Orangeburg, Berkeley, and Dorchester. I will note that in coordination with those counties, we are not displacing their prospective evacuees. We are utilizing their overflow capacity, so there's no conflict there. There's really not a lot else I want to get into. I'll be happy to answer questions. I'd like to turn it over at this point in time to Mr. Jay Byers, who is the County Council Chairman for Dorchester County. Jay.
Thank you, Judge Rawl. I'll be real brief as well. Dorchester County, we've been through this before, we've seen this, so we just want to talk a little bit about flooding. Inland can still happen, so know your flood zones. We want to make sure that you actually look at your flood zones around the Ashley River, Eagle Creek, those places. If you are in those zones and you do need to be able to be prepared to evacuate, please do so. We are establishing a Citizens Call Center. You can call that number at 843-832-0393. Also, for the most up-to-date information on Dorchester County's website, it's dorchestercounty.gov/Florence. So if you need any up-to-date information, you can find that there. Please make sure that if the evacuation order does come, to pay attention to your zones, know where you are, stay safe. Thank you very much.
We do have a representative from Berkeley. I don't believe you're an elected official, but you're welcome to give Berkeley's position, please, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ben Almquist, I'm the EPD Director for Berkeley County. Today we went to OPCON 3 at 8 o'clock. That includes a partial activation of the EOC. Right now we are making preparations for the storm in the event it does come our way. That includes basic operations and preparing for citizen assistance. Tomorrow morning we will be starting our sandbagging operations in conjunction with local volunteer fire departments and our municipalities. We'll also be opening up the citizen call line tomorrow morning. We will be publishing that number at a later date, or excuse me, a later time. Right now, we're just working on our preparedness and making sure that we're staying ahead of this storm as best as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have North Charleston Mayor Summey and Charleston Mayor Tecklenburg.
As normal, we're working with all three counties to make sure that we fulfill the needs that we have in our plan assessment of what we need to do. We're also at 5 o'clock, I'll be meeting with all of our department heads in the North Charleston, looking at how each department is prepared to go into full service, representing what we can do to help our people and any other people. We have a great working relationship with Berkeley, Dorchester, and Charleston counties. We are a team, and we need to make sure that we're not stepping on anybody's feet. We are helping each other be prepared to make sure that our citizens are cared for to the best degree that we can. It's always a great working relationship, and but yet each of us then have to do our own in-house stuff as well. And so that's what we'll be looking at. Are we prepared? When are we going to be opening up for sandbags if we need to? When are we going to be doing a lot of other things department-wise? What are we going to do if the school's closed for our employees who have small children? And it's a lot of things that go well beyond just the preparedness for the storm. It's preparing ourselves to be ready for the storm. So we're in full gear. Butch Barfield, who is our emergency preparedness person, is doing an outstanding job as usual. And if you have any questions, just call us at City Hall, and we'll be glad to answer them for you the best we can.
Thank you, sir. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would like to introduce everyone to Shannon Scaff, who is our new City of Charleston Emergency Operations Manager, 24-year veteran with the Coast Guard in this line of work. So we've met today. Our Emergency Operations Center is fully up and running. Now, tomorrow will be a day of business as usual for the City of Charleston. Our offices will be ready till we follow the storm. We're going to continue on that track while we all, citizens and government, get ready. Now, Mr. Chairman, if I may share with everyone, my grandmother's name was Florence, and she lived to be 103, although she passed away a few years ago. I was praying to her this morning, with all due respect, grandmother, you don't need to come back to South Carolina. So we're all hoping and praying that storm is going to continue to veer north. We don't wish it on anyone, but we're hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. We're all preparing for the worst here as a team. There will be a 5 o'clock meeting this evening, a special meeting of City Council of Charleston to consider emergency declaration to be in concert with the governor's declaration. We're already doing sandbags in 2 locations. We'll be doing 5 as of tomorrow, and but we will be open for business as normal tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I don't think anybody else is going to speak, but I'd like to recognize some people. We've got Charleston County Council members here, of course, Mr. Sass, Mr. Pryor, Mr. Moody, Ms. Johnson, Mr. Summey. We also have at least 1 city council member. I see Mr. Seekings. There are a couple other folks I'd like to recognize, and please understand that you're in the EOC for Charleston County, which has more than adequate capacity for anybody and everybody that needs to be part of the problem and solution. Obviously, we've got Coast Guard folks here. We obviously have Highway Department folks already here. And of course, we've got the chaplaincy folks here. We've got the Red Cross folks here. And an amazing number of Charleston County employees who volunteer for this every single time it comes around, and this is the 5th time in 4 years that we've opened and started. So with that said, I will simply close unless someone... Questions? Yes, questions, of course.
When it comes to shelters in different counties and opening that up, can you explain again, so they're not able to withstand more than a Category 3, the shelters in Charleston County?
The engineering in Charleston County's emergency shelters had been updated. That update and the engineering recommendation is they not be utilized for shelters in an expectation of in excess of 130-mile-an-hour winds. If my memory serves me correctly, and I could be wrong, a Cat 4 is 130 to 156. Cat 3 ends roughly at 130. So if it comes aboard, and we always, in Charleston County, we always prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So assuming this is a Cat 4 or Cat 5, or assuming it's a Cat 3, we're going to operate as if it's a Cat 4 or 5. So the reason for that is blatantly obvious. We don't want to put people in a known risk and a situation that we have control over. And obviously, none of the shelters will be opened until such time as the governor orders an involuntary evacuation of the coast. So that basically is what we're looking at. So if he, in fact, makes that order, we're getting ready to implement that order. All 3 counties, all cities, all volunteers, all public service folk, and all county council folk are ready to go, period.
How many more shelters would be opening up in those outlying counties?
My understanding is the capacity for all 3 is roughly 4,500. As to whether they're dog-friendly or not, as to exactly where they are, I am sure that if you talk to Mr. Patino, he will give you explicit directions and instructions.
Jason, can you comment on that?
Sure. Excuse me. We would not open a pet shelter here in Charleston County, but we would work with neighboring Berkeley County to conduct those pet shelter operations at the Cane Bay High School. So we would use the resources normally working at the Charleston County Pet Shelter there at Cane Bay. Sir.
What would you advise residents at this time?
Make preparations now. We are uncertain as to whether the governor is going to issue that evacuation order, so the time to prepare is now. Get your orders, get your effects in order, and just be ready to go should he make that announcement. Yes, sir. One thing I would like to make note of, we did mention the pickup point locations throughout the county. You can find those locations as well as a whole host of other useful information by downloading our hurricane guide, which can be found at Charleston County's website. That's www.charlestoncounty.org. You can find that information there as well as additional information in helping you make those decisions as to how you can prepare now.
By moving into OPCON 3 and opening up the emergency funds and everything, how much money is now going to become available, and is this money set aside for things just like this?
The county does have a reserve fund for emergencies. This is just one precaution that we're taking by bringing in our personnel so they're ready to respond. But safety is the #1 priority, not necessarily the cost that would be incurred to ensure for the safety of our citizens.
People are seeing you all start to mobilize from just how we've seen the public speak to each other. People are starting to get worried. So what would you have to say to just, calm everyone down? It's not time to panic. Just, like you said, to be prepared.
As we talked about and as we've, been stressing all week, we've known that this threat has been there. We're doing everything that we possibly can as government to ensure that we are prepared and to ensure for the safety of the citizens. But this is a real partnership. Just as you have many local governments here today before you, we ask that the citizens be part of that partnership as well, and they do their part to ensure that everyone is safe. Help your neighbors out, help each other out, be ready to go should the governor give the order to do so.
I think it's important that people understand in the greater Charleston area, this is not our first rodeo. I mean, we've rode this horse before. And what we do is we learn from each experience. And so each experience after, we're better prepared. And I can tell you the disaster preparedness folks that are with the county and each of the municipalities and the other counties are far greater than what we were when I was on county council before I became mayor. We have increased knowledge. we've increased understanding, and we've increased more than anything else communication with each other, and that's the key factor.
Mario, can you speak on Dorchester County's new evacuation zone and how residents can locate their new zone?
Yeah, so earlier this year, actually back in May, we rolled out new evacuation zones for Dorchester County. Evacuation study took place back in 2012 and along the entire South Carolina coastline. In Dorchester County, after the last several years of storms, we relooked at our evacuation zones. Specifically, we looked at our storm surge risk. So we have aligned our evacuation zones with storm surge risk and other variables to include inland flooding. Those evacuation zones are D, E, and F.
And how would a citizen locate their zone?
You can locate your zone through an interactive map tool that we have at dorchestercountysc.gov/EMD. Along the left-hand side of the page, there's a hurricane evacuation tab. You click on that, access the map, and plug your address in.
Anybody else? I left out my Coast Guard folks. They're here also to help us. Always have been, always will be.
Folks will be available for one-on-ones if you don't mind holding up and allowing Sasha to give an update to the Spanish-speaking community. Thank you.
Buenas tardes. El condado de Charleston activó la línea de información en español. El número de teléfono es 843-746-3909. Esta línea funcionará hasta las 8 p.m. y mañana se volverá a activar a las 8 a.m. Estamos en condiciones operativas número 3 y continuaremos sugiriendo a la comunidad a prepararse ahora para el huracán Florence. La ruta final de la tormenta no está establecida. En el caso que se requiera refugio, utilizaremos lugares fuera del condado. La comunidad seguirá usando los mismos puntos de recogida de los autobuses y la única diferencia es que su ubicación final será más hacia el interior. Por favor, monitorear los medios locales y otras fuentes confiables de información relacionada a la tormenta. Gracias. My name is Sasha, and my last name is Vargas, V-A-R-G-A-S. Thanks.
Yeah. I didn't mention Louise by name, but Red Cross is present as they always are. Thank you, Louise. Any other questions for me? If not, we're going to adjourn the press conference. Folks will hang around if you wish to talk to them individually. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you have it. Tri-County officials all in one room talking about the preparations for Hurricane Florence. What we learned just a few seconds ago is that Charleston County and Berkeley County are in OPCON 3 right now. As for Charleston County, their city, the county council passed an ordinance basically to open up funding, emergency funding to get things rolling. But, you know, each county, this whole area, the Lowcountry, been through this a number of times. Right now, it's just giving us an update on some of the early things they're doing. All three counties preparing a citizens operation line. Charleston County and Dorchester County, they have those lines up and running right now. Berkeley working on that at this time. Charleston County also talking about shelters and putting in place those transportation pickups where people can pick up a ride and then head to the shelter. Dorchester County officials advising folks to take a look at the flood zones, and Berkeley County talking about sandbagging operations. But as you know, this is a tri-county effort, collaborative effort, working together, you know, getting everything in preparation for Hurricane Florence, which we all are watching at this point. Hurricane Florence, of course, a Category 1 hurricane at this point. Chris Nessman joins me now, tracking his path for so long. A lot of people, and we're talking about that in that conference, press conference, are starting to get a little bit nervous, a little bit worried as to how close this is going to get. I mean, there's so many question marks at this point.
There really are. And best advice I've heard is plan, but not panic. You know, you want to plan for the worst, but you hope for the best. And I'll tell you, there are a couple things that should give you just a little bit of hope, at least for us. But right now, again, one of those is that storm is still a decent distance away from us. We're talking approximately 1,400 miles. And while it is going to slowly pick up speed, there is still time between now and when we expect it to get really close to our shores. So that's one good thing. Secondly, this is the tropical tracker. This was updated by the National Hurricane Center at 11 o'clock this morning. It does forecast it to strengthen into a Category 4, but notice how the cone That's the potential track of the center of the storm has shifted a little to the north. Now, ultimately, what we'd really like is for it to really curve and eventually just go out to sea. Not seeing that just yet, but nonetheless, there is some hope for us. And you take a look also at the forecast models. These are all the different models. While there is still some spread, a number of them are focusing it farther north. That would put us on the weaker side of the storm. So we're not out of the woods yet. Keep making those preparations, keep making those plans, and follow emergency officials. But there's something out there for us. We're going to take a look, toss it back over to you, Angela, and we'll have more again coming up later on this evening.
That's right. We're going to have more at 6, including more from the governor and some local preparations here in the Lowcountry. We'll see you back here at 6 o'clock.
NASCAR. With Haley, she's been such a good kid, perfect at school, through grades have always got A's, like she's just really easy going, and I'm glad Haley came about first because her personality really helped, you know, like get through the times we had when she was young. We got her into car racing for fun, like when she was like 7, 8 years old.
Here comes Haley, practicing a milestone in her car.
Each year she started getting better.